Welcome everyone. My name is Erin Raethke. I work for TAFE Queensland in my day job, and in my afternoon and evenings, I also like creating visual and audio media. So this is my presentation. Welcome to Adobe Express and Premiere Pro Create, Compare and Expand. Now, the whole idea of this particular session is that you're going to walk away with something that you make or modify today. So there are lots of slides. They're mostly to try to keep me on track and keep the clock ticking over nicely. If you are joining us on demand, please feel free to pause me and have a play and unpause me, or fast forward me if I'm working on the project that you're not interested in. Otherwise, please follow along. Use the links that I've incorporated in, and share what you make if you feel so comfortable as doing so. And if you're joining us on demand, pop it into the Padlet link that Tim shared at the beginning, or send me a direct message on LinkedIn. I'd love to see what you create. So this is my presentation. I am going to clip through it pretty quickly. I'm going to try not to linger because I'm very mindful of time in this session, because I'd like to give you an opportunity to make something of your own. So I work for TAFE Queensland. Some of my public-facing work is actually here. My public thing that I can share with people, because a lot of it is commercial in confidence, internal resources for our staff at TAFE Queensland. But this is the public-facing stuff that I've created. So most of the content on this channel, which is our student portal self-service or help video channel, is mine. Anything you see that has this one, or anything that you see that has that TAFE Queensland device with the red thumbnail, that is all stuff that I have created since I returned from parental leave in February last year. And so my main aim is to create resources that make it easy for our students to be able to have a friendly, calm voice who clearly shows them what they need to do in order to either manage their information or progress through their study. So everyone needs a calm, soothing voice in their ear, sometimes, especially if they've run into problems at 10 o'clock at night and there's no staff that are available for you to call or visit in person. So within that space, I also have my own EduTech live stream series called Create, Share, Learn that my co-host Ben Eels has actually joined us. Hi, Ben. And if you follow me on the socials, which are at the end of this presentation, please feel free. Of course, we do live streams, and they're also available on demand after the fact, so you can always enjoy some of the stuff that I get nerdtastically enthusiastic about on there. Now, I also love education. I love the learning and the psychology of applied skills and learners of all ages. I've studied it at uni. I've worked in the TAFE sector and the public service for 20 years now. It's crazy to think about that. And while a lot of things have changed in that time, a lot of things have stayed the same. But one of those things that has remained constant is creating and sharing and learning new things is my happy place. So I hope you can follow along and share your projects with me today. So the idea behind this session is we're going to create or modify something. I've got some templates for you. You can share the links of those projects that you create if you wish in the chat here today. And then if you share it so that I can download a copy, we can add it to a Premiere project to combine it together. And if nobody feels up to sharing some of their stuff, then I have some pre-prepared examples where I can show you a couple of cool features. So we're going to spend a lot of time in Express because it's where we can actually make the assets. You'll hear me use the word assets a lot. It's where we'll make the assets that then can go into a Premiere project. So just to summarize, for people who are completely new to either one or both of these products, Adobe Express, which is this little icon here, is a one-stop shop for sourcing assets, elements, or stock from Adobe Stock and applying basic effects and transitions with some flexibility. The Because you can easily share online or download in popular file formats, it is that one-stop shop. There are lots of features. It's user-friendly, you can build as you go, but it needs a stable internet connection to work well. Okay, so if you don't have a stable internet connection where you are, you might run into some problems with some of the features of Adobe Express loading consistently. So that's probably the one problem that Express has. Most computers can run it, which is great, and mobile devices have an app, which also needs a stable internet connection. And there is a free version available, but most K-12 schools, that is staff and students, should have access. If you don't, then that's something that you should definitely talk to your local admin about. Premiere Pro, however, which I'm going to touch on at the end, is when you need more control effects. When you need to work on a project offline, you don't need a stable internet connection to work on it. If you need sophisticated transitions or like many, many, many layers that you need to be able to manipulate and copy and move around, Premiere is the go-to from enthusiastic amateurs through to industry leaders in cinema. Other than control, the main difference is that with Premiere Pro, you have to collect at least some of the assets, your backgrounds, your featured things that you're putting into your project from elsewhere. So you need to gather everything together and then pull it into Premiere Pro, and then you can continue working on your project. The computer needs for Premiere Pro, the program to be installed and for you to have a license that you pay for, and you must have some decent processing power, and I'm talking RAM and graphics cards for it to run well. It can run okay on lower spec devices, excuse me, but for you to be able to realize its full potential, you need to have a decently spec device. Premiere Pro is not going to run on a Chromebook. Okay. So let's talk about option one that we have available in the project. What are Adobe Illustrator files? Now, we see AI a lot, so I wanted to clarify. We're talking here about Adobe Illustrator files, not AI. Well, they both say AI. Adobe Illustrator, little.ai, can be used to create pictures, which are known as graphics. And Adobe Illustrator files are vectors. So they're made of shapes based on mathematical formulas. So they are nearly infinitely scalable. So when I'm talking huge or tiny, I can be talking icon, or I can be talking billboard. Like, huge difference in scale, but they are mathematical formulas. They are not the pictures like you take a screenshot or, do some scribbles on a phone and then you have a picture, but then when you blow it up, it gets pixelated. That's not what happens to Illustrator files. So Adobe Express offers you a high impact and low effort way to modify or animate existing Adobe Illustrator files to create something new. So you can browse Adobe Stock to find one you like and have a play. And I encourage you to do that right now if you can. So on-demand people, check this out and then pause me and go hunting. Live people, I encourage you to not get stuck and just make a decision and pick something quickly. If you are in the situation where you would like one of these, I've just dropped the link to the presentation in there for you, so you can grab any of the links that you want, okay? With these helpful links, there is a range of assets, but there is one that I prepared earlier. One thing I wanted to highlight to you, if you are using a work account specifically, is that a lot of educational institutions have license for unlimited images, which includes vectors and Adobe Illustrator files. Some institutions do not, but I have a workaround. You can access things for free via stock.adobe.com. So I'll just type that in there for you, pop it into this handy dandy browser window, stock.adobe.com. As you can see, I'm there a lot. Okay, I've dropped that into the chat for you. This is Adobe Stock. Make sure you have the drop down of free selected and you can search for whatever your heart's content. Let's just search for creativity because that is the theme of the day, right, people? Under creativity, there are lots of pictures that are available under free, but what we're looking for is not images and not all. We're looking for vectors. Or we could even look through illustrations. And the way to be able to tell if we've got what we want is that we select something, we give it a gentle left click, and it says that the file type is AI, EPS, and JPEG. So that AI there means Adobe Illustrator. Alrighty, so you're under free, you're looking at creativity, and you just hit that download button and you can get your project. But if you go, there's too many choices, I don't know what I'm gonna pick. Here's one that I prepared earlier. Okay, so once you have your file, and let's say, for instance, I'm going to go for this one. So I download it, all right, downloading my Adobe Illustrator file. I want it as a vector, can be scaled infinitely for use with Adobe Illustrator, okay? And it's saving it to demos. I'm just going to pop this screen back up here. For those of you who want to take a screenshot for later, please feel free, okay? So we're going to then take that Adobe Illustrator file, we're going to drag it into an Adobe Express landing page. Then once the screen goes purple, you know you're dragging it to the right spot. And then we're going to make sure that you select Convert AI to an Adobe Express file, which should be the option on the right, but grain of salt because they change the user interface all the time. Okay. So for those of you who are looking for something, where's my option one? The one I created earlier. That's all right, we'll make something on the fly. So now that I've downloaded it, I'm going to open a clean session of Adobe Express. So that is at express.adobe.com. For those of you following along live, there we go, express.adobe.com. I find my handy dandy downloads folder. I've got my Adobe Stock, and then I can click and drag her in there, select Convert AI to an Adobe Express file, and then I hit the Convert button. If you leave it on this one, it will just be a flat image. You can't add any fun information, animations to the actual content. You can just add extra stuff to it. We want to actually find the little individual bits and pieces, and we're going to add some fun little animations to it, okay? So it's going to spend some time converting that. So once it's converted, there's the one we prepared earlier. So if you need to, you can now grab those links. I'm going to leave that on the screen for a minute before I rush on. So Cindy, the files all cost to download? No, if you go through Stock and you make sure you select the free ones, you will be doing yourself a massive favor, okay? If you just know, and that's why I really wanted to highlight that for you, because as long as you make sure you stick to the free category, then you should be fine. There's always going to be something available, and if under your search terms there is not something available, change your search term and find something else. Don't linger. Never linger. Lingering is the end of creativity. You can just get so caught up with things. So here's the one that I just created from the download that I just did. And here's my template. Okay. So this is one that I created earlier that the share link is there. So if you want to open that up and play with this one, all you have to do is select that little remix button right at the top, and it will open it in your own Adobe Express account. Okay. So hit that remix button and have a play along. Otherwise, you can play along with whatever one you chose. I'll just use this one as a quick example, and then I'll remix my own remix, and then you can follow along as well. Now, because because Adobe Illustrator files are all designed by individuals, there are some, basic rules, but people can do anything any way they like. So there are some things when you are adding animations that it will be a lifesaver if you keep an eye out for. So what we're going to do is we're going to select parts of the AI files, of the Adobe Illustrator files, and recolor them, animate them, or duplicate bits and pieces so that we can always backtrack if we make a mistake, which happens. Okay, so I'm going to show you quickly how to do that now, and then we'll move across into the next section. Okay, so we're just going to do 3 things. Real easy. I've also got some sanity saving hotkeys and shortcuts in this presentation that are useful not just for Express, but for your daily life working on a computer. So please, by all means, use, save, and share these shortcuts if you've never seen them before. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to first take my Illustrator asset that is got all these little individual bits that I can pick. I'm going to go to that ellipsis at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and I'm going to duplicate it. Why do I do this? Remember, it is so that if I accidentally make a hash of it, I have the original so I don't have to re-download it again. It's just a nice little bit of shorthand for you to have a bit of an insurance policy on your own work. And you can duplicate it when you get to a certain point. If you decide on 2 different effects, you can experiment with it, but duplicating your page while you're working on something this fiddly is going to just it's going to pay dividends in the long term. The next thing I'm going to do, because there are lots of elements in this, I'm going to hold down that control key, so that control key on my computer, and I am going to use my mouse to zoom in and out. So that little mouse key there, I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to zoom in so I can really see what I'm selecting, right? So when I start, yes?
You got a sec there, Erin, just in the flow, just quickly show us where to go to drop in the Illustrator file to have it ingest into Express, please.
Sure thing. Let's go back out there.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It is express.adobe.com. Start from your content, and there is a slide that covers this if you want to reference back to that later on. From your downloads, where you downloaded your Adobe Express element, you're then going to click and drag that over to that button. I did notice that it had trouble loading some things earlier. So let's just try that once more with feeling. And there we go. So you see how it's gone purple? There we go, start from content. That is probably also a really good side lesson that Ben just accidentally got me to demonstrate, is if it doesn't work the first time, refresh your browser. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of a restart. And then we go convert AI to an Adobe Express file there, and then hit convert. Okay, so let's go back here. So we're going to animate something in the image, play with the timings or the vibe, select something to recolor. So we can do it in either, but I'll just quickly jump over into the much simpler option that I created as a template for you all. It's going to make that for me. Okay, there it is. Isn't it beautiful? Very, very simple, very, very basic. You'll notice that I've already made the background see-through and that it only has a few elements, whereas the one I created earlier has lots going on, lots and lots and lots going on. Probably too many layers going on for a simple animation. But one tip I'll just give you is if you do happen to pick something that is really, really dense, you might find it doesn't want to show the layers over here. Don't freak out if it doesn't. It just means you have to be really particular, and it just means the actual file itself might have sort of like hit Adobe Express's layer limit, which, looking at how complicated this picture is certainly a possibility, especially if potentially all of those dots, all those dots are individual little vectors. So that's probably why it's hit its upper limit. Whereas if I go into the one I prepared earlier, you'll see it's got 60 layers, much more handleable by Adobe Express. Okay, I'm already 20 minutes in. Gracious, where does the time go? So the first thing I'm going to do with my project that I've just opened, I'm going to go back over into the Pages tool, which is at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen there. And I'm going to go to... See here, I've already created a duplicate. This is the before and after. So I'm going to duplicate that by clicking that little ellipsis button there and selecting duplicate. So now I've got some safe versions that I can work with. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to select his face. I'm going to select their hair. And that is now 2 objects that I can then group. Now that they are grouped together, I can now apply an animation. That animation is going to be whatever I like, but if you're selecting things like heads, hands, feet, I would suggest a gentle animation, something gentle. And something in the loop as well is really good if you're looking at animating humanoid characters, because it creates a feeling it's a little weird. If you want someone's head swelling with knowledge, that could be an effect you pick. Otherwise, you might want to have something like Bob or Wiggle. Wiggle is something that I incorporate into a lot of things because it can indicate thinking. You can wiggle hands, you can wiggle feet, you can wiggle heads, and it just creates a very gentle little animation. Whereas for non-humanoid objects, like say, for instance, this lovely light bulb we've got here, we can select different elements of this file to create some really nice effects, like say, for instance, flicker. And if you click on that little control thing, you can change the speed and the intensity of that flicker to whatever you like. Okay, if I want to indicate that the bulb is flashing on, this particular one I chose because it has that simple element of the light bulb element in there, so that you can click that and select blinking, and you can change the intensity and the personality of how much it blinks. Okay, so just with those few little modifications, we've gone from something that was pretty blank and just static to having a little thinking person typing away at their laptop with a light bulb above their head that is lighting up with their thoughts. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to select something to recolor. What do you mean, you ask? Well, I'm going to select the shirt, and because I know I'm going to add a green background to this so that I can play with it in Premiere Pro, I don't want a color that sits too close to the green background. And we've got red, we've got green. You want, if you're going to add a background color to do some of the things that I'll show you in Premiere, like keying out a color, you want the rest of your image to not be close to that color, just in case it makes it disappear when it makes your background disappear. That's not ideal. So I'm going to select that t-shirt and I'm going to go over to the edit controller. Sarah asks, if this animation is embedded into an LMS, will the animation remain? That all depends on how you export it. And I'll talk about that in a moment because I'm mindful of time. So we're going to go into the edit thing and you're going to see the color of that t-shirt right there. So you're going to select that and we're going to go more colors, have a bit of a scroll, and let's make it purple. Okay, purple t-shirt, red shoes. The book was that same color, so I'm going to select, and as you can see here, the spines are both individual assets, so I can hold down my shift key and select both. I can do them individually, of course, that's not a problem, but this time I'm going to demonstrate using the eyedropper tool. So I love that purple. So rather than finding it in that drop down each time, and I'll demonstrate that again, I'm going to click what I want to change. I'm going to select the color on the left-hand side. I'm going to use that eyedropper tool there, and I'm going to do that. Okay, so what have we done? We have animated something in the image, played with the timings and vibe. We've selected something to recolor. Now we're going to do a chroma key background and then download a copy of our finished work as an MP4. Now, Sarah, that is what is going to keep it as an animation. Okay. There is another option for animated things in an LMS, and I will quickly touch on that as well. So where are we? Left that as untitled. That's very messy. I'm going to call this example for AEC 2025-1002. Here. So it's named something so I know what it's called. Now we've got our purple changes. We've got our animations. We're now going to go and add a background color. Now, you can add a shape behind things to add a color if you want to block it out, or you can just select that background color, and I'll see if I can zoom in on the UI a bit for you. Background color there. We're going to select that, and I'm going to pick a nice, bright chroma key green. Woo! You can choose any color you like for keying, especially if you're doing it in Premiere Pro, like I'll be demonstrating later. But the main thing is it just has to be a color that is significantly different from other elements in your project, okay? So now I've made my copy. I've animated something, I've recolored something, I have added my background, which you do not have to do. If you are planning on never touching in Premiere Pro, but you do want to use this elsewhere, you can just make the background white. You can search through media and add a picture as a background. There is actual elements that are called backgrounds that you can browse. We don't have time to touch on everything today. I wish we did, but they gave me 45 minutes. All right. So what we're going to do is once we've got that lovely bright green background, we're going to go to the download button towards the top right-hand corner of the screen. Now, because this is browser-based, you don't have to worry about it saving. As long as it has a stable internet connection, it will just keep saving for you, okay? So we're going to go to that download button, and I'm going to just download the selected page, because if you select all pages, it will turn it into a zip file. We're not going to touch on that today. We don't have time. Selected page, MP4 for a video, or if you want a GIF, and this is a DIY GIF you can do, which should play in a lot of LMSs, you can download it as a GIF. But since I'm using it in Premiere Pro, I'm downloading it as an MP4. You can also choose your video resolution. Because Adobe Illustrator files are infinitely scalable, you can get it to go up to 4K, and it will be clean as. But because I want it to download sometime this week, I'm going to select 1080p and hit download. It's starting in the background, it's gathering its data, it's living its best life. Let's leave it to do that while we move on. When you are done, if you would like to be a part of my demo, please create a view-only share link and allow others to remix. Or if you like, you can invite me to collaborate with Edit. So if anybody wants that, they can do that. But let's just see how far it has progressed. Our download is complete. Faboo. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you, if you want to drop the link into the chat, you go share, you go view only link, and you tick the box that says allow others to remix. If you are using a school account and you are in a school where you cannot create a public facing link, and it will not let you allow others to remix outside your organization because it keeps everything inside your organization, K through 12 ICU. Don't stress. I won't take it personally if nobody adds anything to the chat. That's why this is one I prepared earlier. Create link. And it will sit in the background and think about it. And then I can copy the link that it creates and drop that into the chat. So 11:31, moving on. Oh my goodness. So if you have restrictions, you can follow along. You can download and drag it to a shared folder. You can collaborate with your colleagues. You can use a USB stick as long as your organization doesn't ban you from using USB sticks. Whatever works for you, try it out at your own school, try it out to create something for a Christmas card. I don't care. You can do whatever you want to do. Just get in there and try something to build these skills because it makes you look super clever. Option 2 is to make something new with Express. So if you don't want to make something completely new, oh, Bernie, I see you. Thank you very much. If you want to create something new, that is absolutely cool as well. Otherwise, you can totally either use the QR code to make something on your phone or use my handy dandy links that are here in the chat. So I am going to just go out of presentation mode just for a hot second. So I can grab those links and drop them into the chat for you. So I have a link for a lab presentation. I have a link for a life cycle in a presentation mode, like what I'm using here right now. And I have a link there for the same life cycle thing, but in a video project. So you can play around, base your own project on this, go in and change a few things. It's totally up to you. So these links are also public and remixable, so you can use them in your own PD if you want to share this with colleagues, okay? So because we have infinite options about what you can make, it makes getting started really hard and overwhelming. So if you want to try animate character and put your voice to it with a 2-minute scene limit, you can build foregrounds and backgrounds so that you can then split them apart and do clever things with layering. Making things look more engaging is key to great content. So you can use the templates and what I'm showing you here to build an animated science lab background, or a forest or ocean scene, or a classroom background, or a famous book scene. You can build the wardrobe to Narnia. You can do whatever you like. The main thing is just try making something, and you can use my templates if you wish. So the first template with the lab presentation has these backgrounds, okay? So there is just some shelving. This is all assets that I got out of, these are all assets that I got out of Inside Express, by the way. So you can see here, I've got shelving and I've gone in and I've added those. I've found some lab equipment and I've just dropped them in and sort of, you can just see here, I've also like trimmed a few things to make them kind of look a bit more like they're sitting on shelves. And then I've dumped some stuff on shelves that actually you can see the shelf. And I've tried to find assets that kind of match the angles a little bit. These kind of refinements are things that you will do the more confident you get in a space. You'll also see that there is a lab variant that I have here, because see how this one has a nice square screen. If you were to add a video to this, that would look super cool, and you can do that inside Express if it's nice and consistently shaped. Whereas in Premiere Pro, you have something that's called a distortion tool that you can pin the corners of a video to make it look slightly skewed in 3D, and that is something that, given enough time, I would love to demonstrate. So moving right on, for presentations or graphics with pages, I recommend that you build your project out completely. So you have a page with all your elements together, and then you can duplicate it twice. Then you have 3 pages, one with everything, one for your foreground and one with your background. And then you'll see on the template that I shared on page 2, you delete everything that's a background. On page 3, delete everything that's in the foreground. Then you have discrete layers that you can use. In Adobe Express, if you're only creating things in Adobe Express, you can push and pull things between those layers using the layering tool over here, okay? But if you're thinking about having to, wanting to use the animate character tool in Adobe Express, and here's one I prepared earlier. You need to create that character animator thing separately, that animate character, add your voice to it, and then you go into another project, copy the elements that you've already made, and then you paste them in here. And so if you hit play, then you can't hear her talking, but that's just me talking. You can even import by adding media, upload from your device a video that you've made elsewhere of something, and you can superimpose it over the screen. So this is the capabilities that you have in Adobe Express. It's pretty impressive and gets pretty fancy, but when you're looking at Premiere Pro, it's the things that you can do in here on steroids. The other example that I created that you might be interested in doing, for some of you who might be doing biology-based stuff, is that you can take elements that you create in Express and you can create the life cycles of things. I just did a bit of a hunt using elements and media to create a few bits and pieces of a butterfly. I used a couple of tools in here to duplicate a layer. So you can see I can actually move that leaf away. But if I play it, that leaf actually moves ever so slightly. And so did the little butterfly eggs, which are just chicken eggs because I didn't have any bug eggs in the library. So I improvised and just made them small. And I did that to create a cool little asset, which is one of the ones that I shared the link for, that you can then, and I'll just click on the link for the cycle presentation as an example, that you can also take a copy of, download a copy of, make your own modifications to, add a voiceover to, add captions to, have a bit of a play in my space with something that I've already made, and then you can make your own, okay? So I'm just gonna, for the sake of argument here, that's the same thing. We go to hit that remix button, but I don't need to hit the remix button because I've already created that earlier, okay? So after you've had a play with something, either something that you've created yourself or something that you want to link, and I'll just click on some of those links that people have shared there. There we go. Copy that share link. There we go. Share. View only live. And hit copy and pop that in the chat. What have people made? Let's have a looky-loo. We've got someone who has made a juggler. Oh, I love that movement. That is so good. So if I hit that remix button, I can then download a copy. And then someone's gone in and made their duplicates. And I can see we've got some animations in there as well. Fantastic. But I don't have the ability to remix that one, and that's okay. I could still technically share that to show someone how cool it is, okay? So here's this beautiful one. You can see this is an amazing example because they've got the background that is a different color spectrum to the main character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly download that MP4 and I'm going to add that into Premiere Pro because this is my 6-minute warning. How the time goes. Okay. Janine asks, can you create a shared library of assets for different teaching areas on a school level? Yes, you can create projects. You can add the things that you've created. So say, for instance, in my handy dandy folder that I had earlier, under your stuff, you can drag and add things into projects that you can then share those projects with your colleagues. Unfortunately, I can't do that now because I really don't have the time to demonstrate that and to demonstrate the Premiere Pro elements that we've got here. So while that's opening in the background, you'll see I've got my beautiful, beautiful butterfly life cycle that goes through here. And the butterfly's doing its thing. And I've even added some animations where the butterfly transitions in, transitions out, lays some eggs and comes back, which I'm pretty proud of. My kiddo is pretty obsessed with it. She comes in now and asks me to look at the butterfly again. So what we've got here is I'm going to start a Premiere Pro project. I'm going to add some of these existing assets that I've downloaded and demonstrate some of the effects that aren't available in Express for now, which is distort, pin, and chroma key. I would not be surprised if they appear, especially the distort one, because that's something that you can kind of do in other programs. And there we go. Premiere Pro is opening up. There we go. So I'm going to tell it to pick a screen. There we go. So I'm going to open myself a new project, and that project is going to be AEC Demo 2025-1002. And I'm going to hit the Create button. Always name your project something vaguely meaningful. Otherwise, it will make it really hard for you to find them later. So while it's thinking about that, I'm then going to go over into my Downloads folder, and I'm going to check out what I have available. I have an untitled, I have an example. So I'm going to grab those lovely assets and I'm going to dump them into my demo folder. Keeping things when you are using Premiere Pro in an easily discoverable folder and keeping them together packed tightly is so important. If you start a Premiere Pro project and then you just like cut and paste and move your files around after you use them in Premiere Pro, it will have a heart attack and demand you help it find them. Okay, so I've got 3 minutes. So I'm going to go to my folder that I have saved everything in. That folder is located in videos. Okay, so I am going to go to C drive. I'm going to go to users. I'm going to go to Erin. I'm going to go to my videos folder, and there is my demo. Now, by clicking that folder like that, so that it highlights, it will grab everything that's in that folder for me. I can, of course, go into that video and just select certain things, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hit that lovely import button there and pull it all into Premiere Pro. So what were we going to demonstrate? We were going to look at everything that's just been dropped onto a timeline, which is a little bit crazy. But we're going to quickly demonstrate pulling that across and doing that chroma key. There we go. So as you can see, this is much, much denser than using Adobe Express, okay? Adobe Express gives you a much more simplified layout, but trust me, if you use Adobe Express for long enough, you will find yourself outgrowing it. And when you do, pick a project, challenge yourself, and try making something in Premiere Pro. There are so many tutorials. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to chroma key this out by selecting what I'm going to chroma key. I'm going to go to my effects panel. I am going to go to video effects. I am going to go to the keying option, and I'm just going to try Ultra Key first. Results can vary depending on what type of keying tool you choose. Now, I apply that by literally dragging and dropping it onto the asset that I want to use it on, and then it appears under my effect controls, which I've set up over here. There are different ways you can set up Premiere. Do not get intimidated. You will find something that works for you. Now, all I need to do is use my eyedropper tool to pick that lovely pink, if it will find it, which it doesn't seem to want to do. And if it won't, then I will manually find something that is quite like it, about there, and I'll hit OK. Not quite close enough, but close enough for government work. Now we've got that sitting there. Now let's hit that play button. And it's removed that background, and look at him go. Go, you good thing. The other thing I can do really easily in here is I can duplicate that and sort of make it so that it does a loop. And he just keeps going and going and going. Okay. The other thing that we can do is we can create that lab so that we can actually distort things. So say, for instance, I've got 11:46, we're over time, because of course we are, because I get excited. So the last thing that we're going to do is we are going to grab that lab I am going to download just that page as a JPEG. I like PNG, but you know, some people prefer JPEG. It's going to do it nice and fast for me. And then I am going to go in and I am going to grab it from my downloads. Copy it. Do my housework as I go. As my husband and I now tell our kiddo, don't put it down, put it away. And then I am going to very, very simply grab that folder. And this is how you can add things into an established project. Grab something that you've created and you drop it into your timeline. So there it is there. And because it's a static image, I can make it as long as I like, right? So what I might just do is I'll make that a little bit bigger for you. And then what I can do is I can take this bit of footage here and do what's called a corner pin. So it's a distortion tool. Distort, corner pin, one of the best tools. And then to use it, I go corner pin. And then there we go. Because my canvas was just a little bit too big. So there you can see my little penny pins. You can't see them very clearly because of the size of the screen. I do apologize. But now that I've got that a little bit smaller, you can then see those little pins, hopefully. And I just literally drag that to the corners of the computer screen. Get right in there. And I can have that video display on a slightly distorted screen and have a video within a video. So that is to say, the main takeaway from today is that Adobe Express is fabulous for onboarding you to do a creative project, to build assets for a larger creative project. The options are limitless, which can be a little bit overwhelming and can be a bit of a time sink if you suffer from a little bit of decision paralysis when confronted with too many options. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to leave up here to thank you for being a part of the 2025 Adobe Educators Conference. I've run 5 minutes over time. Apologies, Tim, who has to edit this video. Please, at the end of the day, use the link to leave the feedback. And of course, if you want to reach out to me for this or any other questions, come along to one of the live streams that Ben and I do. All of my contact details for the socials and public facing stuff is up on the screen right now. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I'm going to end the recording there for the lovely Tim Kitchen to reference. And then once he finishes the recording, I'll allow people to open up their mics and they can ask me any questions, since we are now into our lunch break for the Adobe Education Conference 2025. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.